Hey, welcome to BreitWerks. What are you looking at? Well, the time has come to do the front suspension on this 1974 911S Sportomatic known as Persephone. So you can see that the rubbers are perished on the ball joints. Same thing for the tie rods, and it's got the old original tie rods in there. And you can see that the shocks leaked. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull the A-arms out and we'll get those powder coated before we put them back in. But we're going to change out all of the rubber. So the rubber bushings in these A-arms, as well as the upper strut mounts that one of them is actually stripped out. So there's only 2 bolts holding in the upper strut mount. There's supposed to be 3. So we'll put new shocks in it. And yeah, we've been looking forward to this part because it means that this part is doing its job. So we're gonna get Persephone roadworthy for the owner. And as we pull this apart, we'll show you anything interesting. All right, we're gonna get on with it. All right, I told you guys if I would show you anything cool. Well, we've got the A-arms out and the axle carrier, right? So the A-arms are over there because everything is rusted solid. The axle carrier is there. But we are right now in ball joint hell. So the pin does not want to come out. So I'm trying to drill through it without hurting the strut, right? The strut housing is the primary concern here. But that little guy is held in by a pin that gets inserted in this direction, and then there's a nut on the end. So you loosen the nut, you're supposed to tap it, and the pin's supposed to slide out. On this side, pin came out just fine, although the ball joint did not want to drop out, so that took some manipulating. Over here though, we're trying to take a pilot hole straight down the middle, because we don't want to hurt the strut, right? The strut body, the shock body. But you can see, I think I've gotten it to move about 1 millimeter in an hour. So we are gonna keep on this and keep going. But yeah, ball joint hell. I guess that's why you're supposed to change these things more than once every 50 years. But we're gonna get back after it, because we still have all of this rusty stuff to do too. All right, this might be a long video. All right, we haven't won the war, but we won the battle. You're mine, bitch. Now, this is where I consider myself extremely lucky. I was gonna take the strut off if the whole car and work on it on the bench, but check this out. Drilled that pilot hole through there, right? And didn't nick the outside of this deal. So that means that once we touch that up with a little bit of spray paint, you'll never know, and the bore is still okay. So I am super, I'm gonna go buy a lottery ticket tonight, because that, trying to do that by hand in the air, pushing on the strut and holding the drill and getting it straight, I didn't think I had a chance in hell. So we've got 2 ball joints now out. I think we're gonna wait until tomorrow to attack the tie rods. But I mean, all this stuff's been soaking in Gibbs oil for a week and a half now. So there's not much more we can do from that perspective. But yeah, so far we have got this battle, but we haven't won the war. Yeah, these just old conies, right? So they get old, and you blast them and paint them, and they look great when they're done, and they last a long time. And we got new inserts for them. So there'll be new actual struts inside of those. All right, well, we are going to not close out the video, but that is the ball joint removal. Woohoo! All right, in the saga of Persephone. Wow, one of these is gonna come off easy, but it wasn't this one. This one was heat and beat and cut, but we did not hurt the strut mount. So we got this guy off. We'll see if he will come off of the steering rack. But now we got to go to the other side, and the goal is to get that done before F1 qualifying starts. So hopefully that one is not quite as difficult, but I don't believe that to be the case. We'll find out. So not only are we refreshing the entire suspension, and it's going to feel amazing, but this is the new tie rod. This was the old tie rod. You'll notice big difference. This is called a turbo tie rod, right? I'm not even sure you can still get the originals, but the originals have a rubber universal joint in here. And what happens is that rubber universal joint the steering starts to feel sloppy, or it gets hard and cracks and just bad stuff happens. So these turbo tie rods are a fantastic upgrade. So Persephone's really gonna like that. But when you do them, you gotta remember, you gotta order the spacer. They call it a tie rod washer, because the way that the originals worked, they had this movable, I don't know, it's kind of a spacer, but what it also does is it holds the boot, but it also allows you to adjust the tie rod in and out on the steering rack side. Out here, you know, you still got your normal ball joint that you can spin this and it'll make the tie rod shorter and longer. The only difference between the original and the upgrade on this end of it is these are female threads, those are male threads. So you can't use your original tie rod outer if you're going for the upgrade. The other part with the upgrade is you've got to get a new boot, right? Because you see how this boot has a big hole on this side and a big hole on this side? That's because it connects here, and actually it would be in here on the steering rack, which is both the same size. With the new tie rod, you have a very small capture point for your boot, and these boots are healthy. So if you are looking to do a suspension upgrade, realize that there are some other tertiary parts you need to buy besides just the tie rod ends or even the whole tie rod, because if you don't have this boot on here, you're going to get grease in your steering rack, and you're going to, or not grease, you're going to get grit in your steering rack, and you'll ruin your you'll ruin your steering rack. So we are going to go put this one in the car. We've already got the other side in. We were able to get both tie rods out, and we're going to keep on trucking. All right, tie rods are in. I have them temporarily just connected to the spindle, and all that stuff's going to come out, but not until tomorrow. So right now they're just connected to the spindle to protect everything, plus the steering rack you know, is mounted by the front axle carrier, so everything's kind of free. But hey, you know what, 6 hours in, 2 Dremel blades and half a bottle of butane, and hey, we're making progress. Good progress. So we'll get on those struts next, and we'll show you what that looks like. All right, so it is time for us to get the strut housing out. And yeah, in order to do that, we're gonna pull the caliper, we're gonna pull the rotor, and yeah, we'll get the whole thing out, we'll clean it up, get it down to the spindle. Not sure we're gonna powder coat it, probably are gonna paint it, merely because I'm not sure I trust the powder coater on all of the points where things need to be relatively precision. All right, well, we're gonna get it out and then we'll show you what it looks like. All right, we got all that stuff off, but this is the one where you can see that the upper strut mount, right, is actually rotted out to the point that the captured nut doesn't work anymore. So yeah, we're gonna go up top, we're gonna get that stuff out. But you know, as I'm looking at this guy, maybe we will see if we can come up with a powder coat that'll last forever. Paint will last a while too, because the car's not, you know, going to be a Yankee car that gets driven in the snow. But we'll see what happens. We're going to keep going. Okay, we got the strut out, but check this out, friends. So this, I think they started life as 17s, maybe 18s, but this guy is not attached anymore, right? But he's basically welded himself to the bolt. So it's supposed to be 3 little 8mm Allen bolt, and they should just kind of pop right out. But lo and behold, not popping right out. So I think we're gonna go after that guy with a Dremel just to get him off of there and move on with our lives. So we'll get back at it. All right, I forgot to show you guys the passenger side coming apart, but this is the driver's side. And you've got the gland nut out here, and you've got another little nut on the inside. Neither one of these get reused in the new, with the new inserts. They have their own gland nut. As a matter of fact, here's one right here. All right, so this will go over the new shock, and it fits into the strut body. So you can do this one of 2 ways. I like taking out the internal gland nut. All right, so there's actually 2. That's this little guy. See if we can do this by hand. I guess not. We'll keep cheating with our C-clip pliers. All right, so we get that guy off. Now we may get some oil, we may not, but he's out. We put him over here with the other side stuff. Now this one, I tried using a pin tool on the last one and it was just rusted solid, so I ended up having to use a big, see, that's not gonna move, a big pair of vice grips. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do this one-handed, but if you only hit the gland nut and you don't scrape the shock body, you're fine, because you're gonna be replacing that anyway. So, okay, that's gonna require 2 hands. I'm gonna put you guys down for a second. All right, the most fun part about 911 front struts is you're supposed to put 50 milliliters of some kind of oil, hydraulic, something light, and it helps transfer the heat out of the shock body. But what it also does is it makes a mess, so make sure that you've got a bucket underneath your work area. So a little bit of heat, a little bit of penetrating oil, and it got us to the point where we can use our pin spanner. These things don't need to be super tight when you put it back together, but yeah. So we should be seeing a fair bit of oil here in a second. And I'm sure there's better pin spanners out there, but this is one I have and the one I use. And since we will not be using reusing the gland nut, I'm not worried about marring it up. I'll go a little further with this. But yeah, it did not want to come off. It was mated, let's put it that way. So the new shock, or I'm sorry, the new strut insert, to be proper, is very, very different from the old strut insert. But I'll show you the difference in a little bit. Lots of threads. There we go. Oop. And there's our infamous leak. And what'll happen now is you simply extract this guy. Thank God for the bucket. And there's a little piece at the bottom that you got to go in there and you're going to have to fish out. And it basically looks like this. It's from the other side. And what that was how you would adjust the shock for stiffness. The new inserts, you push the shaft all the way in and it engages. So I'll show you how to do that in just a minute, but we're gonna go get this cleaned up. All right, everything has been removed from this little 911. And we've got all of our parts that are going to powder coating. Got them masked off where we don't want powder coat. I believe we're gonna be able to find a very good color red for the struts. If not, we'll do those with an engine ceramic. But there's our old shocks, struts, and the only other crazy thing I found was this is an upper strut mount, and this is what was in the car, so we're missing half of it. So I did not really see anything under there that would preclude us from being able to put the new part in, but we'll have to look at it. So everything's out. We've already had some stuff powder coated. We got the tie rods in. So next step, powder coat and then reassembly. So we're gonna close this out. We'll see you on the reassembly. Have a fantastic day. Check us out at BreitWerks.com.